Last Wednesday, Nintendo gave us one of the best Nintendo Directs that we have had in years with Pikmin 4, Metroid Prime Remastered, Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and so many more games. But probably one of the best things announced during the Direct was that of the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games coming to the Nintendo Switch Online service via the expansion pass. Not only did they announce it, but they launched it the same day. For the Game Boy games, the launch titles are Alone in the Dark, The New Nightmare, Game & Watch Gallery 3, Gargoyle's Quest, Kirby's Dream Land, Metroid 2, Return of Samus, Super Mario Land 2, 6 Golden Coins, Tetris, The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening DX, and Mario Land 3, as well as them showcasing to us a few games coming soon, including games such as Kirby's Tilt and Tumble, Pokemon Trading Card Game, The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Ages, and The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Seasons. For the Game Boy Advance games, the launch titles are Kuru Kuro Kurin, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, Mario Kart Super Circuit, Super Mario Advance 4, Super Mario Bros. 3, The Legend of Zelda The Minish Cap, and WarioWare Inc. Mega Micro Game. Then they also gave us a few coming soon titles, including Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, Metroid Fusion, Fire Emblem, F-Zero Maximum Velocity, and Golden Sun. All of these amazing games are worth talking about, and I am so excited for the Nintendo Switch to have all of these titles available to play. But today I want to focus on 5 Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games that I want to see be made onto the Nintendo Switch Online service in the near future. If you're new to the channel, do not forget to subscribe because we talk about video games every single week. Also, comment below what games you want to see from the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance eras make it to the Nintendo Switch Online service in the future. Without further ado, let's get into the video. First up, we have a Game Boy game called Kid Icarus of Myths and Monsters, which is a side-scrolling platformer and is the sequel to Kid Icarus for the NES. You take control of Pit, whose main weapon is a bow with an unlimited supply of arrows. Throughout the game, each level will contain collectible items and obstacles such as enemies and traps. The objective of this game is to reach the end of 3 stages, including the Underworld Tower, the Overworld, and the Sky World Tower, each being separated into 3 areas. After finishing a stage, the player will be able to save their progress, and if you defeat enough enemies, you can expand Pit's health bar. Kid Icarus for the Game Boy allows you to scroll freely in all 4 directions, and you will have a multitude of things to do throughout the game outside of the main objectives, like finding hidden doors, buying items at black markets and shops, and you can find sacred chambers where Zeus will give you physical strength upgrades if you defeated enough enemies. Throughout the game, you will also defeat guardian monsters and unlock 3 sacred treasures: the Wings of Pegasus, the Silver Armor, and the Light Arrows. These are special items which grant Pit new abilities in the final stage, the Sky Palace. Kid Icarus is one of my favorite series that has not been given a lot of love over the years, and the 3DS was the last time we had a game in this series. It would be amazing if we got access to this amazing sequel so we can at least enjoy the original games from the past, since we are likely not going to get any sequels. Donkey Kong is an important property of Nintendo's, and some of the best games in the series were on the Game Boy Color with the Donkey Kong Land series, that had a total of 3 games in the series. Donkey Kong Land is a 2D platformer, and the 3 games are very similar to the Donkey Kong Country games, but the second and third games in the Land series feature you playing as Dixie and Kitty instead of Donkey and Diddy Kong. In all 3 games, you can only play as one of the Kong characters at a time. Both characters have different playstyles and abilities. There are many worlds and levels throughout the game, and there are boss battles at the end of each. Each level you try to avoid enemies, collect bananas and coins. There are also bonus barrels that you can find that will take you to unique bonus levels, and there are also animal barrels in the 3rd game that transform you into the pictured character on the barrel. Like all platformer games, the goal is to reach the end of each level. Donkey Kong games are so fun, and for the Game Boy era, these games are some of the best, and I would love to be able to continue playing these games in 2023 or beyond on the Nintendo Switch Online service. It is very unlikely that this game will make it to the Nintendo Switch Game Boy Advance online games, but man would it make my day if Yu-Gi-Oh! Sacred Cards would be released in the future for the Nintendo Switch. Sacred Cards takes place during the Battle City Tournament arc in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime, but you play as a friend of Yugi's and Joey's instead of the main cast. Just like the anime, you have to collect 6 locator cards and then enter the finals, where you will face the toughest opponents in the game. You will face a multitude of duelists and gather new cards to make your deck better. Your goal is to get the Egyptian god cards and defeat the main enemy of the game, Merrick. You will face opponents such as Seto Kaiba, Ishizu Ishtar, Rare Hunters, Merrick, Yugi, Joey, and more. The biggest difference in the story of this game and the anime, in this game you will beat Merrick instead of Yugi. The game mechanics are similar, but some simplified changes have been made to the OCG and TCG rules, and many changes are made to the cards, such as polymerization not being needed to fuse cards in the game, as well as the effect of certain cards being changed, like Genzo. You build your deck using different cards that include monsters, traps, and spells, and you go from there to continue upgrading your deck as you win new cards, so you can end up being strong enough to take out more tougher opponents. I am a fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! And for me, this is one of the best games in the series and would make my day to be able to play this game in 2023. So the most obvious game to be placed on the Nintendo Switch Online Game Boy Advance service is of course the Pokemon series. Between the Game Boy and the Game Boy Advance, there are 11 mainline Pokemon games, including Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow, Gold, Silver, Crystal, Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, Fire Red, and Leaf Green. I am pretty sure that is a lot to ask for, but what better way to start off Pokemon Day at the end of this month than announcing that all these games are coming to the Nintendo Switch. I am not lying when I say I would purchase the expansion service of Nintendo Switch Online just because the Pokemon games are available. Pokemon is a staple of the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance eras, and all of the games improve on each other with each installment and include the first 3 generations of Pokemon. Red, Blue, and Yellow feature the nostalgic first generation, but the Game Boy Advance also reintroduced us to those generations with the first remakes we ever got, and they are probably the best versions of the first generation. Fire Red and Leaf Green both introduced new story elements, brand new areas such as the islands that you can explore, updated graphics, and the ability to catch other generation Pokemon in the new areas. For many, this might not matter, but being able to replay these older games without having to spend hundreds of dollars to collect the cartridges, because Pokemon series has become very expensive in 2023, I would feel so happy, but it is very unlikely that all these games will make it to the service, but I can at least hope that this will happen. Personally, just having all these games in one place and being able to replay the old Pokemon games and play them with friends and not have to worry about having a connection cord would be amazing. So if you're listening, Nintendo, please put Pokemon on the Game Boy Advance online expansion service and the Game Boy service as well. Probably outside of Pokemon, these are by far the most important games that need to be put on the Nintendo Switch Game Boy Advance service, and that, of course, is the Dragon Ball Legacy of Goku series, and it is by far my favorite Game Boy Advance series. For many of you, you may have never played these games, but it is my favorite way to play the story of Dragon Ball Z. Legacy of Goku, Legacy of Goku 2, and Boo's Fury are all action-adventure RPGs. The player controls one of the Dragon Ball characters and experiences various portions of the franchise. The combat is the main focus of the game. The player can press the A button to use physical strikes, with the B button allowing the player to unleash a variety of energy-based attacks. Energy attacks drain an energy gauge, though it is gradually recharged when not in use. Energy attacks can be cycled through with the L button, and more energy attacks are learned as the player progresses through the game. Legacy of Goku 2 and Boo's Fury also feature transformations for Super Saiyan 2 and Super Saiyan 3, as well as fusions, but that was originally made temporarily in the first game in the series. This ability to transform increases your strength and makes you a lot more powerful for a short period of time. Dragon Ball Z Legacy of Goku's story focuses on the beginning of Dragon Ball Z all the way through the Frieza saga. Legacy of Goku featured full motion videos, which made for an amazing experience. Legacy of Goku 2 starts at the end of the Frieza saga and goes through to the entirety of the Cell game saga. The sequel introduced many new features like transformation and the Scouter and many other things. You were also had access to playable characters such as Gohan, Piccolo, Vegeta, Future Trunks, and Goku. And the Buu Fury starts at the end of the Cell Game saga and goes all the way through the Majin Buu saga and all the way through to the end of the story. You are given access to fusions in this game, the ability to transform to Super Saiyan 3, and so much more. Players are able to play as Goku, Gohan, Goten, Vegeta, and Kid Trunks in the game, as well as being able to unlock fusions such as Gotenks and Gogeta. If you have never played the series, you are missing out because it is by far my favorite Game Boy Advance game series outside of Pokemon. All three of these titles are fun, and I have so many good memories involving this series. To be able to play this in 2023 on the Nintendo Switch would make me the happiest person in the world. Thank you all for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed the 5 games that I suggested from the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance era to be made to the Nintendo Switch online service. I am probably more ecstatic than I've ever been for the Nintendo console in the 2023 with all the brand new titles that was given to us from the Nintendo Direct, and of course this new online service update that is bringing back 2 of my favorite handheld systems of all times. And the more retro games we have access to, the better. And I only think that the games I suggested today would only make this service even better, because all the games I mentioned, to me, are some of my favorites and are just games that I genuinely want to be able to play on the Nintendo Switch today. But thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to subscribe to the channel for more video game content, I would greatly appreciate it, because we make video game content every single week. And of course, don't forget that I stream on Twitch every single week on Mondays and Fridays, so come out and join me. I actually may even play some of these games from this service tonight on stream, because tonight is Monday. But thank you all for watching, and I hope you guys have a good one, and I'll see y'all next time.